The afternoon sun poured through the cracked glass of the small front room where Jabari Galloway sat, his CXC results shaking slightly in his hands. It wasn't fear that made them tremble, it was the weight of decision. He had passed, but what came next? Alone with his thoughts, he stared into the distance, mind racing, thoughtful. What am I going to do with my life now? The possibilities both inspired and terrified him. He could get a job, help his mother, save money. Or maybe, just maybe, he could take a bigger step. He could chase a real career, make a name for himself, break the generational curse that had hung over his family like a cloud. His mind drifted to his childhood, memories that were hard to forget, moving from house to house, always uncertain where they'd be next. His mother doing everything in her power to raise him and his younger brother, even when life showed her no mercy. Jabari had seen it all. Her pain, her perseverance, the way she swallowed her pride to make sure her sons had something, anything to eat. She was disrespected, used and abused, and still she never gave up. That day, as he looked around their tiny home, he whispered to himself, determined, it's my turn now. He made a decision. He would go to college. He would leave the environment that dragged him down and follow a dream he had barely dared to speak out loud, becoming an architect. He did some research and applied to Knox Community College in Manchester and was thrilled to receive an acceptance letter and an invitation to an interview. His mother couldn't accompany him, but she hugged him tightly before he left. At the school, Jabari noticed how different he felt. The other applicants arrived with their families, dressed well, confident, supported. He could see the gap between their worlds and his. Still, he went through with the interview. When asked how he'd manage financially, he lied. Nervously, my father is a foreigner. He has money. He knew full well his father wouldn't help him. Later that night, he handed the acceptance letter to his mother, along with the list of fees. Her eyes scanned the paper slowly. The numbers seemed unreal. She didn't need to say anything. Jabari already knew they couldn't afford even a portion of it. Sadly, Bablin, he said softly. Mia go look a work, save some money, and go next year instead. His mother looked up, tears fighting to escape. Jabi, my son, she said, I really appreciate what you've done. Seth, I wish I could help, but you know how things stay right now. Thoughtful. I know you'll make the right decisions. It wasn't fair. She had sacrificed everything. She washed clothes for people every day, for little or nothing. She went hungry so her boys could eat. She faced humiliation, sending Jabari to borrow food or money from neighbors, only to be turned away. But through it all, she kept going. And now, he would too. Jabari sat still, elbows on his knees, watching the slow rotation of an old oscillating fan in the corner. Its lazy sweep offered little relief. Sweat traced the side of his face, but he hardly noticed. His eyes were locked on the cluttered bed before him. Scattered papers, unopened letters, folded forms with the words, unfortunately and regret circled in his memory like bruises. His phone, cracked in the corner and barely holding charge, lay screen down on the desk beside him. It hadn't buzzed in hours. He didn't expect it to. He had tried everything. The Ministry of Education? No response. The local church? Ignored. Even his old high school principal, a woman who once stood proudly at his graduation and said, "Sincerely, if you ever need help, come find me." But when he did, she politely backed out, said the offer only applied to Cape, regretfully. Overseas scholarships were no better. He had sent emails, neatly written, proofread 3 times, to at least 7 different organizations. Not one reply. Disappointed. I thought people would want to help someone trying, he mumbled aloud. But it seemed like they didn't. He had no rich uncle, no sponsor, just a quiet room, a dying phone, and a heart heavy with rejection. Out of sheer frustration, or maybe the last flicker of hope, he opened Facebook. He didn't know what he was doing, really, but the words poured out like a dam had broken. He wrote everything. The struggle, the dead ends, the dream that burned in his chest even when the doors kept slamming shut. Then he pressed post. 2 days passed. Nothing. And then, a comment. Just one. Sincerely. I might can help you. Inbox me, please. Jabari stared at the screen, eyes narrowed, unsure whether to believe it or scroll past. Skepticism was second nature now, but desperation makes a man brave or foolish. He replied. The man introduced himself as Mr. James, a member of a US-based church mission. They supported students, arranged housing, and even offered medical aid. He said he wanted to hear Jabari's full story. So Jabari told him all of it, the disappointment, the hunger, the desire that refused to die no matter how many times he was told no. Mr. James listened, no rush, no judgment. When Jabari finished, there was a pause. Then, softly, the man said, "Kindly, I think you deserve this." He promised to work on a scholarship, but warned it might take a few months. Unfortunately, school was starting in 3 weeks. Advising.
"Try speak to someone at the college," he said, encouraging. "See if they can buy you some time." And so Jabari went. It was orientation day. The campus buzzed with new energy, laughter, chatter, the start of something big for everyone there. He had dressed neatly, pressed shirt, slacks, polished shoes, but under the surface his heart pounded like a drum. He looked around for someone, anyone who could help. The chairman was nowhere in sight, but then he spotted the principal. He had seen her once before. He approached the lecturer nearby and asked how to speak with her, formal. "You'll need to request an appointment through the office," the lecturer said. And so Jabari waited. 3 long hours. Eventually his name was called. He stepped into the principal's office, holding his shoulders back, doing his best to appear confident despite the nerves swirling inside. Confident. "Good afternoon, miss. Thank you for seeing me." The principal looked up from her desk and offered a kind smile. Kindly. "Good afternoon, Mr. Gallo. Mr. Galloway, right?" "Yes, miss. Curious. I was told you're here about a scholarship." He nodded and began. He told her everything, his efforts, the dead ends, and finally the message from Mr. James. He held out his phone. On the other end, Mr. James's voice came through, clear and sincere. He confirmed the mission, explained the process, and most importantly, vouched for Jabari's character and drive. The principal listened, her expression unreadable at first. Then something shifted in her face, her features softened, and she leaned forward slightly, as if to see him more clearly, gently. "You have a good spirit, Mr. Galloway," she said, encouraging. "You're going to make a difference." And for the first time in a long time, Jabari believed it too. Jabari sat by the window, his shirt still crisp from orientation, but his face damp with sweat. Not just from the heat, but from the weight of everything that had just happened. In his arms, he clutched the folder with his acceptance letter, tighter than ever before. This wasn't just paper, it was proof. A dream taking its first breath. He looked out at the blur of banana trees and hills rolling by. The wind kissed his skin through the cracked window, but inside, his heart felt like it was glowing. He whispered to himself,
"Me I go college. Me really I go college. Thank your God. Me really I go college."
His eyes welled up, but his lips never stopped smiling. Because in that moment, Jabari knew this was the start of something greater. He wasn't just going to college, he was going to change everything.